progress report means and what is available to you. And I sent out an email to you and your parents yesterday. We'll review the most common economic systems that we took a look at last week. Also, we'll look at the assignment that we did in class, as well as the one that I wanted you to do yesterday. Even though it had a due date of yesterday, it's still open till Friday because I wanted you to focus on your basically your progress report grades instead of that. And then
I turned both those things in and it still says it's missing.
Yeah, because I haven't graded them yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I just said. I wanted you to work on your first 6 weeks grading period, not this one coming up. And then today we'll take a look at circular flow models, which is just a graphic representation of an economic system. And so we'll talk about each of the three most common economic systems, graphically what that looks like, talk about the areas on the graph, and as it relates to government intervention or individual freedom in the economy, how that would change the way that the circular flow model would look. We'll do, as usual, the assignment. If you've looked in Aries, one of the things you've noticed is we've got two categories. One is classwork, which is generally what we do in class together, and then the other one is homework, which would be the one assignment that you do between the time that we end and then the next Tuesday that we meet. You should have that done. So a couple of things. Make sure that you're logged into your Canvas page. I want to show you a couple of things, and we'll talk about what happened in terms of the progress report and the grades. Okay, so I think we're set here. So a couple of things. Your semester with me is divided into three. So generally it's 3 6-week periods. This semester, because of the extra days at the beginning for teachers, it was only 5 weeks this grading period. Then it'll be 6 weeks and then 6 weeks, and the semester will be over. So a couple of things regarding your progress report. Your progress report includes what we did the first basically 3 weeks, right? Where we had an assignment in class, assignment you had to do before we met the next class for 3 weeks. So that was 6 assignments, plus your test was assignment 7. So that is all that's included on your progress report. So it's just a snapshot of where you were basically through September 18th. Right, where you were through September 18th. So the grade does not erase, it does not start over, you just keep building your points from there. As I said in the email yesterday, you want to check and make sure that every assignment that you have turned in Aries showed up as graded. Then you want to check and make sure that the number of points you received on the assignment was correct. Canvas is not the official grading portal. Canvas is just a way for you to upload assignments that send notifications to me to automatically have me check and update your scores. So Aries is always the correct grade at that point, at that day, as it's updated every day at 3:30 by me. Canvas is not accurate. So if Canvas shows that you have a B minus and Aries shows that you have a D minus, you really have a D minus. So Canvas is not used for grades, it's just used for the dissemination of information and notification for the purposes there. So that you want to make sure that you are clear on. Any questions on that? Okay, so next, what we're going to have you do is go into modules, and I want you to go to module 5, and we'll talk about last week, the 3 most common economic systems, and then this week we'll take a look at circular flow models. So go ahead and select your modules and go down to week number 5. All right, and so what we took a look at was the most common economic systems that we have. And the most important thing to gather out of that would be the following. So when we talked about the 3 systems, centrally planned or command economy, mixed economy, or a market economy, what you wanted to understand from that was that we had, and I'll put this up, let me go a little lighter. We had a continuum basically, right? If we go from centrally planned to market, or if we go from market to centrally planned, we have different levels or variances of independent individual freedom or government planning and control. So if we were to go from, say, North Korea to the mixed economy in France, to the market economy in the United States, we are losing governmental control over the economic system, but gaining in individual freedom. Now, if we go the other way, say Hong Kong to South Africa's mixed to Cuba centrally planned, we're getting rid of individual freedoms and replacing that with government planning and control. And then it'd be the same if you come back from Iran to Japan to the United Kingdom. We are having less and less government control, but we are allowing for more individual freedom in our economic system. Is there any questions there? Okay, so what that meant was, is after you went through all of this, and as I said, you didn't have to do it because I wanted you to focus on, so these are still open, as I said, through Friday. We did a system analysis, which is in your Go Formative. So if you click here and you're logged into your formative, it'll show you something similar to this. We did this in class together, right? We had 2 groups. Group 1, you took Malaguena. Group 2, you took Beringia, right? And the fictional countries in terms of what would happen. After you submit, remember the easiest thing to do after you hit your submit button that's down here is to take your URL up at the top, copy that, and then paste that in text entry if you want. Website URL will take me right to that. You submit it like that. I click on that, it'll take me to your answers right away. As I said, I wanted everybody focused on the first grading period grades. So even if you turned this in last week, it is not graded yet. It'll be done this afternoon. We'll update that there. You still have until the 25th to turn that in. So I wanted you to focus on that. Then when you are done with that, you had the case study. The case study, it was important that you use your school email address or it's not going to update your grade automatically. So use your full school email address. Make sure you use your proper name. And then what we had you do was look at 3 different video scenes. A scene from a Disney movie, ask about what type of economic system and some advantages and disadvantages of that. Ask you to look at a clip about the Hunger Games, advantages and disadvantages of that. And then a late 80s movie called Tucker the Man and His Dream. And there are 2 questions about that clip. Then out of all 3 video clips, which system would you want to live in and why? Once you hit submit, you would take your URL up here, right? And once again, you could post that in the text entry if you want. So if you post in the text entry and hit enter, it'll show up as a link, or you can go website URL, copy and paste that there, submit that, and that'll be done. So that's what you should have done yesterday after you had worried about your first grading period. And then for those of you that have already done that or are following along, you can go ahead and hit next and get to this module 6, week 6. So open week 6 or module 6 up real quick, and we'll start with this week. All right, now that everybody's got there. So this week, picking up where we left off with the 3 economic systems, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a graphic approach. We're gonna look at economic systems in a graphic sense. So I'm gonna show you 3 what's called circular flow models, which is basically just a graphic representation of an economic system. You need to be able to explain these circular flow models. So I'll talk to you about the exchanges that take place, the different markets that are in each of those. You want to be able to compare and contrast the similarities and differences of those circular flow models, and then be able to identify the economic system based on the picture of the circular flow model. If you're able to do all those things, you're going to be set. All right, go ahead and click next, and you should get to a screen that looks like this. And so you can go ahead and select next on that.
What does CMF mean?
Circular flow model.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. All right, so all this is, and as I've said, is a graphic representation of the economic systems. Graphic representations of the economic systems. So I'm going to mark this up a little bit, but I want you to see what we have. So let's say for a market system that we take this circular flow model and divide it into half. We're going to have 2 markets basically in each of these. So there's going to be a market over here, and we're going to call this the factor market, and I'll show you why. All right, so the factor market is over here on the side of households. We're going to have another market over here called the product market, and that is going to be on the side of businesses, or what some people call firms. And then also we know that, right, the exchange for all of these items is going to be money, right? So in every circular flow model, we're going to have 2 markets. There's going to be a factor market and a product market. The factor market is going to be where the factors of production, land, labor, capital, business knowledge, or entrepreneurship are created. those are exchanged in the product market for wages, rent, or dividends. Meaning that if you have a job and you go to work, you basically exchange your labor or your knowledge for a paycheck. And that's what's happening in the factor market, right? People and households exchange the factors of production to earn money from a paycheck. Then when they collect that money, they're going to take that money out of the bank and they're going to go out to a firm or a business. They're going to use the money that they got for their factor of production and buy finished goods and services. Any questions on that so far?
So basically, all the wages, rents that we get go to the firms.
No, all the wages, rent, and dividends are paid by the firms or businesses to the households for people working for them.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions on that? That was a good one. All right. So when households, right, go to work and they get paid, they take their money and they go out and they spend it on goods and services that businesses make. That's in the product market. And so if we take a look at what a mixed market looks like, right, the only difference is going to be some government intervention and the number of exchanges that take place. Because in this example, in this circular flow model, how many total exchanges do we have?
4.
What do you mean by like 4, right?
4 is exactly right. Yep. We've got one arrow, goods and services in exchange for consumer expenditure. That's money. Consumers take their land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, give it to businesses in exchange for money. So at a minimum, market systems are always going to have 4 exchanges. 4 exchanges. So when we get to a mixed system and we add government intervention, you'll see that it'll be a little bit different. With this, right, we've got our product market up at the top, factor market down at the bottom, and you can see the arrows here. Here we have a minimum of 8 exchanges, right? 8 exchanges because of government intervention. And so what we have, if you take a look at, right, monetary flow, households to firms. That means money for finished goods and services. Those finished goods and services come back to households in exchange for that money. Taxes are collected, government purchases are made. Down in the factor market, firms take the money that they receive from selling their goods and services, pay households for land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. You also have taxes and government-owned factors in the factor market, right? So that would be like the military and their defense spending on bombers, on nuclear submarines, what have you. Any questions on that?
So not everything's controlled by the government yet.
No. Partially owned by the government, partially owned by the government, partially owned by the individuals. So minimum 8 exchanges there. Now, on the last one, this is where we're going to have complete, as Sam just said, complete government intervention. So that means we're going to have at a minimum 16 exchanges because the government, as you can see, is involved in the factor market, and the product market. So the factor market would be on this side, right, where it says households buy goods and services and sell factors of production. The product market is going to be over on this side. Right, where businesses buy factors of production and then sell those goods and services. And as you can see, if we spotlight this, right, you've got 1 exchange here, 2 exchange, 3 exchange, 4 exchange, 5 exchange, 6 exchange, 7 exchange, 8 exchange, and then the government is in the business of manufacturing all of this and allocating it. So you've got 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 changes in this graphic representation. Any questions on that?
The changes are the lines, right?
The exchanges are the green and black arrows on that, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. So go ahead and on your canvas, click next and get to this system comparison page right here. Okay, then once you're there, open a tab to Go Formative and go ahead and log in. All right, go ahead and open a tab to Go Formative and log in. And you can see what we're going to do is we will divide the class up into 2. And we're going to do a system comparison. So we're going to compare the United States, which is pretty much a market economy, with North Korea, which is a command economy. And we will compare how resources are allocated, who decides how resources are allocated, and then how items are distributed. So we'll look at that in a way and see how those two compare. So we'll divide you up into 2. Group number 1, you'll have the United States. So on your formative, you'll answer questions 1, 3, and 5. Group 2, you'll have North Korea. So you'll answer questions 2, 4, and 6. So remember, if you click on the system comparison and you're already locked into Go Formative, it's going to take you right to that. And you'll have spots there that you can put in. So group 1, you'll have questions 1, 3, and 5. Who owns or controls the means of production? How are productive resources allocated among people and businesses? And then the last question, distribution of goods and services and social programs. Group 2, you'll have questions 2, 4, and 6. So North Korea, who owns or controls the means of production? North Korea, how are productive resources allocated among people and businesses? And then lastly, in North Korea, how is the distribution of goods and services and social programs done? All right, so we'll divide you into 2. Go ahead and make sure that you hit accept. All righty, real quick. You guys have questions 1, 3, and 5, which is the United States. Now, the United States, who makes the decisions in the United States for the most part on economic issues? Group 1, go ahead and unmute. Who makes the decisions in the United States on economic issues?
Would it be the government or something?
In the United States. Most decisions are made by who? Does the government decide for you what you buy at the grocery store?
Or we do.
We do. So it's the people. So on questions 1, 3, and 5 that you do on the left-hand side, you want to focus on the people. Individuals and businesses are the ones making the decisions, okay?
Gotcha.
All right. Make sure you have it ready to share.
Production in the government in North Korea, the government.
Okay.
Yeah. So Sam's pretty much on it. That's what I wanted to check with you. On your questions 2, 4, and 6, what Sam is saying, the government, for the most part, in all of these situations, and especially in North Korea, is going to be the one that is making the decisions on what gets produced, how it gets to produce, and then who gets it when it is produced. So that's where your focus wants to be on 2, 4, and 6.
And that's why it's failing.
Well, relatively compared to us, it could be, yeah. I've never been to North Korea, so I can't comment. I won't be going, though.
We're stuck on the last question.
Okay, I'll be able to help.
I'm pretty sure I got the second question right. I'm not sure about it though.
Okay, so I think the breakout room's closed. Everybody's back with us. All right, so here's a couple of things. We will start with group 2 since group 1 went first last time. So group 2, you'll give us answers to 2, 4, and 6, and I'll type them in this box. And then group 1, you'll give the answers to 1, 3, and 5, and group 2 will be able to type in. So for group 2, when we talk about ownership in North Korea, who controls the factors of production?
The government.
Yep. The government controls the factors of production. All right. So we'll leave that there. All right. Question 2, resource allocation. It says, how are productive resources allocated among people and businesses? So basically the factors of production. How does the government decide who gets what?
A market system.
But if we're talking about North Korea, how would it be decided?
Oh.
Right? It's going to be
A government plan?
this part here, government plan.
That was my second guess.
The government, okay, decides who gets what resources and how much of that resource right, so we'll leave that there. And the third one goes here. On the last part here, distribution of goods and services and social programs. How are goods and services distributed? And then if there's any social programs, right? Food stamps, Medicaid, unemployment insurance, economic stimulus. Who decides in North Korea who gets that?
The government?
The government does. The government decides who gets the goods and services, as well as how much they receive. Okay? So that one goes there. All right, so group 1, you should have typed that in on questions 2, 4, and 6 as group 2 presented to us. So group 1, you're going to present. Group 2, you will fill in these in questions 1, 3, and 5. So in group 1, when we talk about the United States of America, in terms of ownership, who controls the means of production, the factors of production in America?
The people.
People.
Control. The people.
Very good. The people and the businesses really control or own the factors of production.
You spelled own wrong.
I did. Thank you. Okay, group number 1. In terms of resource allocation, how are productive resources allocated among businesses and people?
through a free market.
Yep. The people decide in a free market how resources will be allocated. Perfect. And then lastly, on group 1, distribution of goods and services and social programs in America, how is that decided?
By producers and consumers.
Yes. Okay. So it's going to be a mix. In the United States, it will be the people, businesses, and the government, right? Because we have food stamps, we have a welfare system. We also have Medicare and Medicaid. All right, so I'll leave that up there in case either group didn't get to finish typing in the other one.
It's still on share screen though.
It what?
It's still on share screen.
Okay.
There we go.
And I've got a screenshot of that I can put up in a minute.
What's number 3 and 4?
So let's see, that's 1, 3, 5. Number 3 on the United States, it's well, here, and let me show you because I can put this up for everybody. Okay, so on this is a screenshot from last period, but it's the same thing. This would be 1, this would be 2, this would be 3, this would be 4, this would be 5, this would be 6.
There's no writing on it. It's just where you wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You don't see the, let me see if
No.
it'll show up now. What about now?
Okay, yeah. Now
There.
it works.
Okay, so I'll put that back up in just a second. I'm going to show you the last portion. Just like last week, and I'll bring this up. All right, just like last week, the last thing that you need to do before we meet next Tuesday is a case study. And so with that, you're going to click on this just like you did before. It's important that you use your school email as the email for this form. Use your real name here. All right, and then this is the scenario here. You and your older brother are completely different. This summer you had a full-time job and you always come up with ideas to make more money. From babysitting to painting fences, you always are working harder. Your brother, on the other hand, had a part-time job over the summer and spends his time relaxing and playing video games. To be honest, you're a little jealous of his lifestyle. You prefer to work less and you wonder if there's a sensible alternative to capitalism. You get online and come across a controversial video called "Is Capitalism Moral?" All right, so you'll click on this video clip and you'll watch it, and then you'll answer these questions on that video. When you're done with that, you're going to watch this clip that your brother texts you talking about inequality is real and it was created. Then you're going to be asked questions about what you see in the video. There's only 9 of them here. The last one is your opinion. Do you think capitalism is moral? Why or why not? After you hit submit here, you're going to go up to your URL up here. You're going to copy that. You're going to paste that just like you would any of the other assignments, and it'll show up in Canvas. I'll be able to click on that link and see your response.